So yeah, I'll just use the record talk footage that I already filmed and save the rest of the records for another video and just get something out. Going through the vortex. Hello, greetings and welcome. Welcome to the Stereo 999 YouTube channel. I am your host, the artist formerly known as Stereo Steve, and I am embarking on a new project. Not to get too metaphysical about it, I decided that I am going to do one album per year from 1953 until the present. No big reason except that one of my all-time favorite albums was recorded in 1953, and I can start with that. And so yeah, I'm going to try to keep it interesting. I made some kind of arbitrary rules. One of the rules is I have to have a physical copy of the record I'm talking about. The other rule is no compilations, just albums. And it's not necessarily going to be favorite albums from each year, though it'll kind of be favorite albums from each year. Mainly, I just looking for stuff that's interesting to talk about.
Will you get on with it?
Okay.
1953 Thelonious Monk Trio.
Okay, well, this is the Thelonious Monk Trio with Art Blakey and or Max Roach, Gary Mapp and Percy Heath, with either Gary Mapp or Percy Heath on bass, and either Art Blakey or Max Roach on drums. And this is a 1953 recorded session. It's been issued a bunch of different times with a bunch of different covers. This one is probably from the early 60s. It's a Prestige Blue Label joint. And this is awesome. It's got Blue Monk and Little Rudy Tooty and Baya, Monk's Dream, Trinkle Tinkle. Just great Monk songs, great renditions, and just a real lean trio.
1954 Rhapsody in Blue, Whiteman Canario.
Okay, so this is George Gershwin's Rhapsody in Blue. I think it was originally a 10-inch release in 1954, and Capitol did with a lot of their 10 inches where they put one on each side and did reissues. And this is just a really good rendition of the classic George Gershwin piece. And Paul Whiteman was one of the first jazz musicians to release a 78 at the turn of the 20th century. And the piano is by Leonard Pinario, who is the composer of March of the Lunatics, a piece of music I've always found intriguing ever since I heard it on a classic Saturday Night Live.
1955 Man with the Banjo, Eddie Peabody.
Okay, so this is Eddie Peabody with the Man with the Banjo. And as you can see, he's a man and he's got a banjo. And Eddie Peabody was recommended to me one time when I was at a garage sale digging through records. And it's kind of lounge music, easy listening banjo, but he's got some good skills and it's really nice to listen to. Let's try this again.
1956 at Basin Street, Clifford Brown and Max Roach.
Okay, whatever. All right. Well, 1956, Clifford Brown and Max Roach at Basin Street. And kind of sad story with Clifford Brown. He didn't want to go out like a lot of his colleagues, so he was into some drug-free, clean living, and then he died in a car crash. But anyway, great band on this record, and great. This is a reissue, obviously. I mean, that's what the original album looked like. This is one of those 70s reissues on the Trip Jazz label. This has got some great songs. This has got What Is This Thing Called Love, and Powell's Prances, Time, and a version of Love Is a Many Splendored Thing that plays with 5/4 time a couple years before Take 5 by Brubeck. You might notice that there haven't been any rock and roll albums yet, and that's for a couple of reasons. Reason number one is most of the rock and roll was singles. There weren't really prominent rock and roll albums. The other reason was in the 50s, rock and roll was in its infancy, and jazz was at a very high point in its evolution, having emerged in 1902, as Jelly Roll Morton told us.
1957 after school session, Chuck Berry.
But then, this will be the first rock album I talk about. After School Session by Chuck Berry. And this is just classic. I mean, it starts out with School Day, Ring Ring Goes the Bell, which is probably the first Chuck Berry song I ever heard. And the B-side, Deep Feeling, which is a nice bluesy instrumental. And it's just classic songs, just one after another. Too Much Monkey Business, Wee Wee Hours, Havana Moon, and on this CD, bonus tracks such as You Can't Catch Me. A lot of glare here. But yeah, Chuck Berry, Chuck Berry was the bedrock upon which rock and roll was built.
1958 Hypnotique, Martin Denny.
All right, for 1958, this is Martin Denny's Hypnotique album, and this is one of his more interesting of his Exotica records. It has Jungle Madness, which has a really trippy choir in the background. Also, the title track is great. And American in Bali, which has some gamelan type percussion. And liner notes by the novelist James Missioner.
1959 The Shape of Jazz to Come, Ornette Coleman.
The Shape of Jazz to Come by Ornette Coleman. One of the groundbreaking albums. Has this classic track Lonely Woman. Has focus on sanity and peace, and it's the classic band with Ornette, Don Cherry, Charlie Hayden, and Billy Higgins. And this is not like an OG or anything like that. This is pretty standard Atlantic issue, probably pressed sometime in the late 70s, early 80s.
1960 Music for Strings, Percussion and Celesta, Bela Bartok, Chicago Symphony Orchestra, Fritz Reiner.
All right. This is a fancy reissue, I think made by Simply Vinyl, like maybe around late 90s or so. Nice reproduction of the original artwork. down to the shaded dog label. I got a good deal on this back when I worked at Tower Records. I got a fat employee discount on this. And yeah, Bela Bartok, one of the great forward-thinking 20th century composers, you know, along with Stravinsky and whatnot. This piece is very eerie and engaging, and you might recognize the second movement of this was in the movie Being John Malkovich.
1961 at the 5 spot, Volume 1 Eric Dolphy.
It's Eric Dolphy at the 5 spot. This was my introduction to Eric Dolphy, and this is my same beat up copy. This is one of my favorite labels to collect, is this early 60s blue label Prestige. This is pretty out there. Fire Waltz and The Prophet, which takes up the entire second side. There's 3, maybe 3.5 volumes of Eric Dolphy at the 5 spot, if you count the Here and There album. And yeah, another brilliant, groundbreaking pioneer whose life was cut short too soon, like his colleague John Coltrane, which will be the next 1962. All right.
1962 Coltrane, John Coltrane Quartet.
Yeah, and this is one of those late 80s reissues where they kept the artwork, but they changed the font, because, you know, the original just said Coltrane there and didn't have all this. And, you know, it's got the liner notes inside. And, yeah, I mean, I played the hell out of this record. I mean, Out of This World, Tunji and Miles Mode, and Soul Eyes, which was a Mal Waldron composition. There's an earlier Coltrane album on Prestige called Interplay for trumpets and saxophone or something like that, which has a long version of Soul Eyes that takes up most of the first side. But this is like a 4-minute version. Beautiful ballad. Great record. All right, so that's the first 10. And yeah, I'm playing with this new format where I choke myself with a tie and sit in front of the computer. I think I fixed the sound problem because my voice was distorted last time. I think I fixed that. Anyway, let me know in the comments. Blah, 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 blah. Like, subscribe, blah, 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 blah.
Oh, no, you can't leave yet. You gotta have a nice cup of tea with me.
Sunday, a fire in the sky. A comet plunges to Earth, and there's nothing anyone can do to stop it. The people of Phoenix are doomed in the most spectacular disaster movie of them all. Richard Crenna and Elizabeth Ashley star in A Fire in the Sky from the author of The Poseidon Adventure. Sunday at 8, 7 Central on NBC.
They loved your dress, they loved your hat, but your breath could knock Godzilla flat.
Brush your breath, brush your breath, brush your breath with Dentine.
Kiss the bride, the preacher said, but when you tried, she turned her head.
Brush your breath, brush your breath, brush your breath with Dentine.
While you're chewing Dentine, it freshens your breath as effectively as even mouthwash.
You thought she'd love your brand new bike, but she just told you to take a hike.
Brush your breath, brush your breath, brush your breath with Dentine.
The hottest disco album of the year, K-Tel's Disco Fire, a fantastic double album featuring Peter Brown,
Come on and dance with me.
Michael Sager Band, Stargard, Barry White, and Donna Summer, Tuxedo Junction, Eruption, KC, and Emotion, Prince, Disco Fire, one of the winners from K-Tel, double LP $7.99, double tape $8.99, available at participating stores.
Why do you need new bands? Everyone knows rock attained perfection in 1974. It's a scientific fact.
All right, after a baffling case of insomnia and a very baffling dreams, baffling insomnia, baffling conversations with those who may be awake, maybe not awake. I don't know. It's all just a mess, man. Can't get back to sleep, so I'm going to put on some Gary Wright. But, yeah, it's what I got from Gary Wright. Dreamweaver, of course. And except for a little bit of guitar by Ronnie Montrose, this record was all synthesizers and keyboards and drums. And Dreamweaver, huge hit. Love is Alive, other hit. He was in Spooky Tooth. But this is Extraction. Usually you see the reissue of this on Pickwick that has this cover art, but in color. But this is the OG on A&M with the gatefold. Extraction has a song, The Wrong Time, which I believe was in the movie Go Ask Alice, which was one of those daughter on drugs seeks rehab kind of movies. And William Shatner with glasses and a big mustache is the dad. But this is Footprint, and I remember there was a good song. There's a white label promo, A&M. So, you know, just in a nutshell, the ones on the Gary Wright records on A&M are, he's playing organ and are more, you know, Spooky Toothish, and then the Gary Wright records on Warner Brothers are the more cosmic synthesizery ones.
55 Franklin 5.
I've been working too long to get a clown. Action.
This ship goes where I want it to go.
Security, take them both to the brig.
Freeze. Hey!
Cut.
Man, he must be having a bad trip.
And I'll be back next week with 1963 through 1972. Peace.
That was good. We can use that.
Save it, please.